everyone, I am Dr. Nisha Kumari, Assistant Professor at School of Business, Aditya University. Today in this particular lecture, we are going to discuss about iterative designing and implementation strategies. By the end of this particular lecture, you will be able to explain the concept of iterative designing and how it works, as well as you will be understand what are the different phases of implementations are there and what are the key elements of implementation strategy. So coming up to the iterative designing first, iterative designing is the continuous process where we are collecting the feedback from the users and we are analyzing those feedbacks, and based on that we are going to do the modification, and again we will improve our prototype or the product, and again we will give to the users to get their feedbacks. So in iterative designing, what is happening, like it's kind of you can say that it's the small part of your testing part where we are collecting the data feedback from the users, and based on those feedbacks we are doing the analysis of those feedbacks, and by getting the insights from those feedbacks we are doing some kind of modification or changes in the prototype, or you can say the product or the app which we are going to offer to the users, and again we are going to give back the updated app or the software or the product to the users, and we are going to collect the feedback from them. So when we talk about the iterative designing, it's a process of continuously refining and improving solutions through the repeated cycles of the testing, feedback and modifications. So instead of developing directly the final product and installing, or you can say that in a introducing directly in the market, what we do first, we test those product with the users, and based on their feedbacks we are going to do some kind of modifications or the changes in those product or the services, and it evaluates the prototype with the users and their insights which we gain from the feedback of the users. So how it is working, first we are going to collect the user feedback, we are going to gather the insights from the users, and then we are going to analyze the data by identifying the different patterns, by understanding the different patterns, and based on that patterns we are going to do the modification or the improvement in the product, and again we are going to retest the prototype with the users, and we are going to get the feedback from there, and whether we are fixed the problems which they were facing previously or not, we are going to verify from the users. So again we will repeat the same cycle. It's kind of the continuous loop. We are continuously process it until unless we are going to get the best result and best feedback from the users. So how this entire process is helping us? It is helping us because here there's one, like we can say the statement or the understanding for the entrepreneurs, that we should listen our users, we should learn what is required, and we should improve based on the feedbacks or the insights of the users, and then we have to repeat the same cycle again and again until unless we can get the best output which we really want to introduce in the market for our users customer satisfactions, and it will help you in delivering the better experience every time to your users or the customers. So what are the benefits which we are having of this iterative designing is that it encourages the continuous learning and innovation. So by identifying those gaps, by identifying those patterns, or by identifying what are the complexity the users are facing, we are able to came up with the new solutions or the new upgradation in the particular app or the product which we want to introduce. So by doing that, what is happening, again we are identifying that particular insights or the patterns, what is happening, we are coming up with the new change or with the new idea how we can do the better with our existing product or not, and then it helps in reducing the risk of product failure. So rather than directly jumping in the market, if we are testing our product with the users, what is happening, it is reducing the failure risk, because based on their feedback we are able to understand at the early stage only what other things are required for our product or the app, and it ensures that there is the alignment with the real user needs, because in starting of the design thinking process, what is happening, we understand the users' needs, their pain points or their challenges through the empathize part, where we are collecting the data, where we are doing the research, empathy research, to understand the users in depth. After that, we were doing the defining part, where we were defining the clear problem statement of the based on the data which we collected from the users. So now where here we identify the problem statements, so whether there are product or the like service which we are going to introduce in the market, whether it's really addressing this particular defined problem or not, we will be able to get that in the phase of iterative designing only, where we are testing our product with the users. And as well, it helps in improving the overall usability and the user satisfaction based on their own feedback. After doing that part comes the implementation strategy. So whatever the product, whatever the service, as well as for the established organization, whatever the new operations or the process or the practices which we want to implement, we can do in a much better way by doing that iterative designing, and based on the results of those iterative designing, we are going to implement our strategies in a different phases. So while we are implementing the strategies, there are some key elements of that. First, you have to plan the resources, what the resources we required, in which manner we are going to use those particular resources. So here when we talk about the resource planning, we are going to talk about what resources are required, how we are going to utilize them. Then you will come under your defining roles and responsibility. There will be the different roles and the responsibility of each and every team member, whether the person is going to deal with the marketing part, whether the person is going to deal with the your designing part, whether the person is going to deal with the feedback part. So each and every single person will be having some different role and the responsibility to perform during the implementation stage. And we are going to establish some kind of timelines, that these are the timelines by this particular time which we has to be prepared with the what we can say WIP, work in process product or finished product, or by this particular time we should be able to implement our strategy in the market. So we should set the all the estimated timelines and we should work in that way to achieve those timelines. So what is happening in starting, like in each and every process or in each and every organization, or even though in your own personal life, before performing any task, what happens, we first plan that what the resources we are having and how we are going to use those resources, correct? After that, what roles we has to play, and after that we are able to we are going to define what are the timelines are there. Like for example, if you are talking about your own as a student, if you talk about your own personal what you can say that academic growth. So here you can talk about that I am having for my learning purpose, I am having lectures, correct? Then you are having your personalized notes which you prepared by yourself only. Then any online videos or content you can say, or any other online platforms which you are having from where you can learn about your subject or particular topic which you want to understand. So these can be your resources. Now what is happening? Your role. So your role is to study and understand the concepts. That is your role and responsibility, as well as to perform or complete all the assignments which is given by the lectures or the institution. Now timelines, that if for example you are having your mid exams in the second month, so before the first internal exam you should be able to complete your 2 units. You should be able to complete your 2 units before the first internal exam. And then risk management, if you are not able to complete because of your any health issues or any family problem, XYZ reason, because of any reason, if you are not able to complete your syllabus before your first internal exams, what things you can be followed. For example, you can do some kind of crash course, or you can say you can go through from some 2 hours lecture and all online lectures. So likewise, so this is the way you can manage the risk which appeared because of your health or the family issue. So same wise, in your terms of the like business, we are going to identify what are the resources we are having and how we should utilize them, and we are going to define the roles and the responsibility of the each and every member of the team, and we are going to estimate, or we are going to establish the timelines. By these different timelines, we have to achieve these particular different stages, and if something uncertain is happening, how to manage that risk. So these plannings we are going to do before implementing the strategies which we want to introduce in the market. Now to implement the strategy or your product or the changes you want to do in your running operations, or any new practice you want to introduce. So what is happening, we can implement those things in a different phases. First will be your pilot launch. So in a pilot launch, what is happening, you are just testing with the 5 to 10 users, like whether your product is working properly or not, or whether the need is there in the market for the product or not. These kind of things you are going to get in the pilot launch. It means you are going to do that in a very smaller market area. Then phased implementation, where you are going to increase your range with the limited market. And then full scale deployment, where you introduce your product for the all mass population. So here if we talk about any kind of example, we can take for example Uber. In starting when Uber came, so how Uber came in the picture, it's not like that they created the app and they implemented that app in the entire country or in the globe. So what happens with the Uber, first they tested that in the particular few cities. In few cities only they tested whether the users are really going to use their services or not, whether they are willing to book the rides using their apps and they are ready to pay the amount which they are estimating on their app. Then after that they reached to the some states. In those states they tried, okay, in cities we identify, okay, the users are really using our app. So what happened, they introduced in the few more states, and after that by seeing the feedback from the users, what happened, they implemented the pan India. So if we talk about the Uber in terms of the resources, roles and responsibilities, and then your timelines, and then risk management. So if we are implementing this particular service in a fewer city, what is happening, we need just limited resources, and we are able to clearly identify or define the roles and responsibility each and every team member has to perform, and we are able to achieve the timelines which we established in the starting of the planning. And if some kind of uncertainty is happening, it is easy to manage. So that's why in starting we always go with the pilot launch. Here in this particular case, when the Uber came starting in the picture and they introduced their app just for the few cities, that was their pilot launch, where they were testing whether the users are really going to use their app or not, because need was there. They identify the need by following the entire design thinking process. But now the picture was that whether the really users are going to pay for that or not, whether they are willing to use that particular app or not. So that because of that reason they introduce their app as the pilot launch. Then after seeing the feedback or the usage of their app, what happened, they introduce that in the state level, and after that, that will come under that state level implementation will come under your phased implementation, that in some regions of the India they implemented. Then again, based on the feedbacks and the usage and the users response, they implemented pan India, which will come under your full scale deployment, where they implemented their app, where they made available their app to the pan India. Now currently, if you seeing the current scenario, Zepto. So in Zepto, what is happening, there are some certain places where you're going to see whether they're you will get the message that this particular area they are not providing their services, correct? So what is the reason? Because for the timing they are testing their product, whether the people are really going to use their app or not, and how much kind of customers they are going to get for their app, because there are already they are having competition in the market. So how they can make them better in comparison to their competitions, and how they are those users are going to what we can say that give the reaction, or how they are going to use their app or not. So in the implementation part, what will be happening, there will be the entire process of introducing the solutions to the users or the customers, and for that we are having 3 phases. First one is your pilot, second one is your phased, and the last one is your full scale. So after implementation, what will be happening, the organization will continue to monitor the performance by collecting the feedback and measuring their by using the key indicator performance indicators, and such as your satisfaction, efficiency, adoptions of the adoption rates and all. So if we were going to understand the different rollout approaches, first one is your pilot launch, second one is your phased implementation, and third one is your full scale deployment. So while we talk about the pilot launch, it helps in testing the solution at a small scale level before introducing your entire product in the entire country level or the universe level. And phased implementation, where we are going to implement the idea on the different groups or the regions or the staged level. And while we talk about the full scale deployment, here we will launch the solution to the entire user base at once. And these pilot launch, they are best for the new future, untested solutions and the high uncertainty initiatives, while the phased implementations, they are useful for the large user bases, complex systems and the regional rollouts. And full scale deployment is for the stable, well tested solutions with the proven value. Then when we coming up to the iterative designing, in wholesome, when we talk about iterative designing, helps in the continuous improvement by doing the testing and collecting the feedback and doing some kind of modification based on those feedback which we collected from the users in our product or the app or the services. And implementation strategies helps us to implement our product or service or our idea or the practice or the strategy in a systematic manner by managing the risk and resources effectively. Thank you.